Hi, how are you? Happy Thursday. I'm here with a friend. It's my first Facebook Live with a friend. This is Monica Shulman. She is a local artist here in Dobbs Ferry, and I'm so glad that she's joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I showed up early for my podcast interview, and look what a nice treat I got.
Yes, she's going to be on my podcast, which is also very exciting. She is not only a painter, but she's also a photographer. And do you want to tell the story of how we met?
Sure. A few years ago, before either of us had kids, Betsy reached out to me on Etsy, where at the time I was selling some work here and there, and she sent a bunch of clients my way. And then fast forward a few years, and it turns out we lived down the street from each other in our new neighborhood in Westchester. So pretty excited about that when I saw her name on a listserv that she was living right here. So now we get to work together some more and be closer.
So we both randomly moved from the city to the same town in Westchester and the same block. So that's pretty interesting. And I was a huge fan. I have used one of her prints. Actually, this print over here. Can you see that print there? I've used it probably 20 times. I don't know. In all different shapes and sizes. But she also has gorgeous paintings. So let me show you a couple of examples because they're beautifying our storefront here in Dobbs. This one, I think, Monica, has to be my favorite. What's it called?
It's called Let's Dance.
Oh, yeah, love it. But then here is another one over here. And you know I love anything in these colors, Monica, so there's that.
Well, good. We have that in common, too.
Yeah.
So I love color. So.
Yes. And I would love to ask you some questions about art in particular, because a lot of my clients are really petrified to buy art. They don't have a background in art, or they don't necessarily see value. They're wanting something affordable, but they can't find anything that's super interesting to them. So tell us more about how to find art that resonates with you at a price point that you can afford.
I think the most important thing is also not to let it be too complicated. I think people sometimes overthink a lot of what they do when they're buying art, and I think you just have to remember to have fun with it. Art is one of those things in your home when you're decorating that you can change it, you can move it around. It doesn't have to live permanently on any one spot in your home. So I think the most important thing is to just have fun with it and look at it in a way as an investment. There's so much out there. The web is so saturated with artists and different mediums, and I think there's something for everybody. So if you really love a piece and maybe it's out of your budget, don't be afraid to ask the artist maybe to work with you on the price. A lot of artists are open to negotiation.
That's interesting, because I would think that would be a little insulting.
Well, I mean, you have to be reasonable with what you're asking. I mean, my art is at the price point. I price my art for the market. I price my art based on my experience. I've worked with galleries. I've worked with a number of
affordable interior design,
of course. I've worked with private collectors. So, you know, I kind of have a sense of what the market is. I also spend a lot of time thinking about my ideal client, and you know, I make the art because I'm an artist, because I'm creative, because I have to make it. It's a passion. It's like a necessity for me to put things out there. And part of that is wanting other people to see it and enjoy it as much as I do.
I'm really surprised that you said you think about your ideal client, because I started this career as a painter. Mm-hmm. I was a painter and a fine artist before I became an interior designer. And I would say I never thought about the person I was painting it for. In fact, I never had anyone in mind. I did it just for myself. Mm-hmm. So I never even thought, I mean, I didn't sell very much, by the way, so I think we could see where the disconnect is. But I really never thought about the person who would be buying it.
Well, I think
is that a problem?
What do you mean, is it a problem?
Well, I mean, is it a problem in terms of making your art marketable? I just never thought of thinking of the client first.
Well, when I say I think about my client, I think about people who enjoy art, people who love to see beautiful things. I'm making it, I don't think, what would this person like versus that person. I'm thinking more like, this is a piece I'm going to make. I very rarely, especially when I have a painting, have a plan. A lot of it is just intuitive and what I'm feeling at the time that I'm making it. So I think really my ideal client is anybody who, or my ideal customer is anybody who loves beautiful things and anybody who loves art and wants to transform their space, to bring something beautiful into their home or their office or, wherever they're going to be hanging a particular piece of art.
Right.
And I just don't think it has to be so complicated. I think that.
But my clients, they are so intimidated. And, I think that word that you used earlier, that term investment, freaks them out.
Yeah. Well, there's, as I said, like there's something for everybody. My husband teases me because I'm constantly moving the art around in our house. We have things that we've been together for over 15 years, right? So obviously over that time, we've purchased a lot of stuff, we've moved stuff, we've gotten rid of stuff. Art is something that we're both very passionate about. Myself as an artist and as like a buyer, but also my husband just really loves art. He loves to look at things and go to museums and stuff. And we've purchased things that, like, at the time that we bought it was very significant to us, and now we're kind of like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, so we'll move it, or we'll try it somewhere else, or we'll put it away for a little while. It doesn't have to be so permanent in your space, and I think that that's something that's hard for me too. Like when I'm working with a potential client, the art has to speak to you. So I can make it for myself, or thinking about my ideal customer, or where it's going to go, but the art ultimately has to speak to the person who's buying it. And I think that's something that people really have to think about it. It's an investment, but pretty much anything is an investment. Like, you can't look at it as, like, if you're buying like a beautiful sofa, like sofas are expensive too, or like if you're buying like a special chair or a table, or people buy dining room tables that become family heirlooms, or they
not anymore. Not at affordable interior design.
Well, some people might. I mean,
yours is.
There's so many.
Yours is.
I feel like there's so many different things that you can make. I have furniture in my home that I've bought, at inexpensive, lower price points, and I've had them forever, and I love them, and they're part of my family and like our story. And then I have other things that like I've gotten like from my grandmother. Nobody really buys like silver anymore. I certainly didn't, but like my grandmother did 50 years ago or however long ago, and I have that. So. Art can travel with you. It can evolve as you evolve, and it is an investment in your home and in your space.
Well, and I love what you said about moving it around, because people get afraid about holes in their wall, or they get afraid, and so they just don't move it. And I will tell you, so I don't really move my art either. Just a little. I'm going to share. I think it's a great.
Invite me over.
I will. But it's so funny. So I don't really move my art at home. I don't move my furniture at home. But here, I'm always changing things. In my storefront,
I'm the worst. I move everything all the time.
I always wonder about that. I have clients who are like, I'm always moving things, and I'm like, what's the deeper issue there? But anyway, not to get psychological on you, Monica, but in my office, I'm always moving things. I'm like, let me put the chair there, let me put the... And so you shared with me a lot of your art, which I love, because as I said, I've been a huge fan from before I even knew her. I was an Etsy fan. What's that called? Like an Etsy fangirl? But anyway, so I was an Etsy fangirl of Monica's.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, and so now I get to like have your art in my storefront, just on loan, of course. And so the other day I moved it, because I moved my furniture, and so I moved my art in relationship to that. And I looked at the piece that I've used 26 times, this beautiful, beautiful New York City print that I've used from bachelor pads to office spaces. And I moved it, and all of a sudden I appreciated it in a different way. I've been seeing it for years, for, 10 years? Oh my goodness, or 7, or I don't know.
I think it's about 5 years old or 6 years old. But yeah, but you've purchased so many other pieces too, so.
It's all a blur. But I saw it in a different way. And that was really eye-opening to me, because all of a sudden I moved my desk so that I could also have a different vantage point, but I'm looking at it all the time. And it really gives me an amazing feeling. And it made me sort of inspired to move other things, other pieces of art, and see what would move in on me day to day. Because day to day, you're experiencing it. It's always in your face. So by moving it to a space where you see it differently, where the light hits it differently, are you going to have a different experience in your day? And the answer was yes. It was cool.
It's kind of like the way that people say, paint your bedroom a certain color because it promotes peace or some, or calm feeling. It's kind of that way with art too, where you might be very drawn to something that works well in your living room, but not necessarily like, in a hallway that doesn't get a lot of light, or it works better in a bedroom, or, I think it's important to move it around. Also, your life changes and you move homes. So, when in our apartment, before we moved, we had a house now, we have a lot more walls. We didn't have that much space, and we had a lot of art because I just love art. So I hung my own things. I hung things that we've purchased. And we didn't have that much space, and now we have a house with more walls, and I can appreciate it so much more. And maybe that's another reason why I'm constantly moving it around. But
Yeah.
it's nice to experience it in a new way.
Right. Right. No, I think it's interesting, and I think it's a risk that most of us don't take. Well, Monica, how can we find you? Besides, of course, on my podcast airing next Tuesday, where we'll really go more in depth. We're recording it right after this show. But in the meanwhile, how can they find you? If they're watching now, they want to go see your work now, they want to go buy your work now.
Well, you can find me on monicashulman.com. It's my new website. I just relaunched it after several years of working on it. It's rebranded. It's all new. I have an e-commerce component to it, so you can buy my prints, you can buy my paintings, and I have a blog that I'm writing again after so many years of blogging, which is also another way that we had a connection. And that's how you can find me, monicashulman.com.
Well, I'm so excited. So thank you for joining us here today. Find us on our podcast, bigdesignsmallbudget.com. She'll be joining me this Tuesday. Go to monicashulman.com. I'll put that link in the Facebook Live notes. And thank you for joining us from Hampton, Virginia, and all these beautiful places. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back next Thursday. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Betsy.